Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It is great to have you in today on a Tuesday, or excuse me, on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How are you doing today on this Friday?
I'm always happy on a Friday.
It's been a long week.
Has been, man.
Get days mixed up. We had a weird weather delay. It was the Hall of Fame game. Couldn't see a full four quarters, but I guarantee you half the TV audience, or probably more, wasn't even watching at that point. I'd rather see the full
There weren't many
four
people
quarters.
in the stands.
Well, I mean, it was raining, bad
Did you see
day.
how hard it was raining?
Yeah, no,
it's like unbelievable.
it was
Sheets
bad.
of rain.
But normally when you think of football, baseball has weather delays. Generally, football doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen football in mud, snow, sleet. We just saw the -degree wind chill just this past January. Normally, rain, it's kind of like the Postal Service. Rain, sleet, snow, they're still going to deliver your mail. That's kind of what the NFL has been when it comes to delivering you NFL games. But because I guess it's a Hall of Fame game, I guess it's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
Or really worth the effort to
Well,
be
they
out
don't
there
even play
playing.
the Pro Bowl game anymore.
Well, I mean, it's a weird Pro Bowl games, they call it now. It's a whole system. By the way, that's being played in, I think, Orlando. So that would be cool. That's later on in February, late January, something like that. But besides the fact, it was great. Olympics is going great. Congratulations to Simone Biles. Katie Ledecky, she's also absolutely killing it in the swimming competition. But let's talk about some football today because a lot has come out. Training camp, as always, is in full swing. So let's break that down. But most importantly, Lamar Jackson. The last time we saw him, it was an unfortunate situation. Zay Flowers had a fumble. Lamar threw it into triple coverage to get it picked off. However, Lamar Jackson is ready to take his next step in his NFL career. When speaking to reporters on Monday, Lamar Jackson was asked about what his next goal is, most likely of trying to be a Super Bowl champion, and this is actually what he had to say.
I said that April 26th, whenever I was drafted, I said that, and I meant that. But this the highest level of this game, we play. So you got to go out a champion. That's what I want to be labeled as, a champion, not just MVP here and there. Like, I want to be a champion.
So, the question is posed in this way because this is the end of Lamar's contract in 3 years. Now, obviously, I assume he'll be extended. But let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, the next 3 years, do you think Lamar Jackson will lead the Baltimore Ravens to a Super Bowl victory?
That's a tough question. I think...
That's what we do around here. Ask those tough
a
questions.
tough question. And I would say there's a high probability, but I can't say for sure because Kansas City is there. Kansas City has won 2 out of the last 4 and 2 in a row, and they're going for that three-peat this year. And the road to the Super Bowl, I believe, will go through them, or they will be on the road and they'll have to win at home. And I think Baltimore may have had their best chance this past year. They played them tough. They only lost 17-10. They had 2 chances in the red zone there and made turnovers in both of them. It cost them big time. They can't make those kinds of turnovers. Expect to win the AFC Championship game. So I'm not sure. I would love to see them win it. I like Lamar Jackson. I listened to that interview that they had, and John Harbaugh's got his back. He says his vision for Lamar is to be remembered as the greatest quarterback in NFL history. That's a stretch a little bit. I mean, he's already played a number of years. He is only 27, so maybe he can start winning a lot of Super Bowls. I mean, you got to win 7 to be, at least 7 to be considered the greatest of all time nowadays, with Tom Brady setting that benchmark for the other players. And Jackson came out and said, hey, you know what? I appreciate he's got my back on that. It gives me fuel to do better. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, keep trying to get better, keep trying to win these games, keep trying to reach that goal. And he said, Brady is the GOAT. I'm not at this point, but it's motivation. I appreciate that. I'm still on my way. And he is on his way. I mean, he's only 27. In 2023, he had career bests in completion percentage, 67%, 3,678 yards. That's a lot more than he normally passed for. He had a new offensive coordinator in Todd Monken, and they actually did quite well. I think they did. They thought they were bringing in a more elite wide receiver group. I don't think it really turned out to be that. It really Zay Flowers turned out, I think, to be the best receiver in that group, and they had OBJ in there. They had who's the guy from the Patriots that they got?
Nelson Aguilar.
Aguilar, who I never thought was that great, but he played okay for them. I still think they're lacking that number one receiver. I don't think they've got that that big time playmaker on the wide receiver group. But I think there's reasons to believe that Jackson hasn't reached his ceiling yet. He's, as I said, he's won 2 MVPs. He's the youngest player to ever win 2 MVPs. He was the youngest player to win the Heisman Award, too. So he's gotten some great accolades there, but not the one he really wants. Manning, Breeze, and Elway were all older than Jackson before they won their first Super Bowl. He says patience is the key. Only a few quarterbacks have won the Super Bowl recently. A lot have not, and that's true. I mean, you have Mahomes. He's been winning those Super Bowls. I need to focus on what I can control and go from there. Kansas City remains to be the team to beat. It's their first game of the season, so it'll be interesting to watch that. I think now that the training camp has started and Lamar's back, he was out for a little bit of an illness injury. Well, it wasn't an injury, but he was ill. Now he's back. It seems like the intensity's increased in the preseason for the Ravens. He says iron sharpens iron, and I think he means that we have a good offense. We also have a great defense. When we play against each other, we're trash talking to one another. We're trying to make one another better. So I think they got the right attitude. I think Lamar is focused on the MVP, not just the MVP, but the Super Bowl. And I'd like to see him get one.
I think everybody would. When you have a talent like Lamar Jackson, it's like this guy is something we've never seen before. He has the athleticism of any position. He's better than Michael Vick. He's better than Cam Newton when it comes to athleticism. Does he have the strength and the body build of a Cam Newton? No, he's a little bit more, I guess you want to call it, thin. Cam Newton was more bulky. Although Lamar Jackson has packed on, I think it's 15 pounds in the offseason. So in case he does take those big time hits, well, you know what? He could take more of those. I have come around to Lamar Jackson probably about last year before he won his MVP, to start last year's season. Because what I saw from Lamar Jackson up to that point was an underdeveloped passing game, and when it mattered, when he needed to pass the ball, it was not given to a level of success. Perfect example is against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Brady's last season. During the first half, they primarily focused on passing the football. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens were down. This was a Bucs team that was not very good. A battered offensive line, not a great set of tight ends and weapons. Yes, Mike Evans was there, Chris Godwin was there. But outside of those two, and up against a very good Baltimore Ravens defense, they could basically shut him down and make him ineffective. You know Brady is going to throw it to one of those two targets because the other targets just weren't that good, could not create separation, could not get open. And that year, they had the worst rushing attack in the NFL. So you know for a fact they were not going to run the football. But the Ravens focused primarily on passing the football and were down at halftime. In the second half, they ramped up the running game, and I think threw it only 8 times the entirety of the second half and took care of the Buccaneers like they weren't even an ounce of competition. And then Tom Monken comes in. I think that's largely Greg Roman's scheme. Not a great pass first scheme. Not a great pass first scheme, or just passing scheme in general. Todd Monken comes in. And we hear a lot of great things about how great Lamar Jackson's pass game is developing. That's great news. Lamar Jackson says he wants to throw for 6,000 yards. Great. We want to see it. I wanted to see how his passing game was really taking it to the next level. And that was the case this year. Best passing numbers of his entire career. Highest efficiency of his entire career. It was all looking great. And then it came to one particular game that was shocking. And that was the AFC Championship game. Because, yes, Lamar Jackson was improving his passing game, but it still wasn't his strength. Running the football was the Ravens' strength. The Baltimore Ravens themselves. That was their strength. And going up against a Kansas City team that could not handle the run very well. Hell, they just got beat the prior game against the Bills with the ground attack. Baltimore decided, you know what, we're going to run it, I think, 6 total times. 3 times the running backs, if I'm not mistaken. Lamar had an opportunity to break free on the right side, but I don't know why he didn't just tuck it and run. He looked at the defender and eventually ended up getting tackled. You were playing into a scheme that was great against the pass, not great against the run, and Todd Monken drew up a pass-first offense. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So in order for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to get over the hump of at least making it to the Super Bowl, making it first off, which in of itself is very, very difficult, you got to have the right system. You have to play your strengths against their weaknesses, not, ironically, your weaknesses against their strengths. Monken had it backwards. John Harbaugh could have fixed it. He's the head coach. So if he understood exactly what was going on, I would assume he would fix it, but instead let Todd Monken decide what to do. Pass first against a pass-great defense. Didn't make a lot of sense to me. But I completely agree with you. I think the entire NFL world agrees with you. Lamar Jackson has the talent, has the skill set to win several Super Bowls. He's a 2-time MVP, 1-time unanimous MVP. He could have won it a second time if one person didn't vote for Josh Allen to be first. Otherwise, he would have received 50 votes. There you go, 2-time unanimous MVP. But that wasn't the case. It's all about competition. If Lamar Jackson was an NFC quarterback, and he beats the crap out of a bunch of NFC teams already, if he was an NFC quarterback, I have no doubt in my mind he would have been to a Super Bowl already. I have no doubt. Because what we saw from Lamar against the number one team in the NFC, and this was a 3rd and 16 play to end the first half. I mean, he's just bobbing and weaving through a San Francisco 49ers defense, cutting left, cutting right, going up the field. That's the Lamar Jackson I want to see. That's the Lamar Jackson I wanted to see against the Kansas City Chiefs. But we didn't. We saw a pass-first offense. We saw a pass-first scheme against a great pass defense with Steve Spagnuolo of the Kansas City Chiefs. It didn't make a lot of sense. So Lamar's team, you could even say, sabotaged the chances of the Ravens making it to the Super Bowl.
So you say the Kansas City loss was more about the coaching than it was about the players. I mean, they did have 2 turnovers in the red zone.
Correct. And one was a pick six thrown into triple coverage on a crazy play, and Zay Flowers making a rookie mistake, and L'Jarius Sneed making a very heads-up play. But we have to take account that, think about this. The Ravens for the past few seasons have been the number 1 rushing team, or at least the top 3 rushing team in the NFL. Why are they doing a pass-first scheme against a great pass defense? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So in that case, yes, I do say that Todd Monken came in with the wrong scheme, the wrong game plan to say, you know what? Early down passing. Why not? And then on top of that, to not use play action, which the Chiefs were not good at already during the regular season. They were great against no play action defensively. Yeah. Well, with play action, they were not a great defense.
Here's where the Patriots shined in playoff games. When things weren't going so hot in the first half, they made adjustments at halftime.
Correct.
And they usually wound up winning those games, and that's what Baltimore's got to learn how to do. The passing game isn't working against a team that's got a great passing defense, and they're not so hot against the run. Let Lamar run it.
Yep.
He's a great runner. Or hand it off. They've got a good running game to go along with his ability to scramble and make something out of nothing.
I think we have to take account of some of the losses they had, because they lost 2 starting offensive linemen in Morgan Moses and John Simpson. They got a rookie right tackle in right now and a brand new left guard. I think that could be a problem. Now, they do have some of their main pieces. Ronnie Stanley, of course, is a tremendous left tackle. But some of these losses, I think, are going to be pretty detrimental because the Ravens have dealt with a lot of injuries. Tyus Bowser they lost this upcoming season, but he dealt with an injury last year anyway, was out the entire season. Patrick Queen, a great linebacker, he's gone to the Steelers. Jadeveon Clowney hurt Joe Burrow, sent Joe Burrow to the hospital, said goodbye for the rest of that season. He left to be on the Panthers. There's a couple of pieces here that I'm not great about. Now, they tried to replace their defensive back with Nate Wiggins, the rookie, who we each had going in the first round. So I think that they're trying to replace some of their defensive pieces, but all around their defense, I think it's not going to be, historic defensively like it was last year. And I said this a number of times last year on the show. I said the numbers and the efficiency that the Ravens defense this past season, the 2023 Ravens, their defense was very reminiscent of the 2000s Ravens, who we talked about recently on the show, where they gave up, I think, 1 offensive touchdown in the playoffs. And think about what they did to the Chiefs. This was a team that put up 17 points. The offense just couldn't get going because they had the wrong scheme out there. Now, Lamar, this is where I'm going to critique Lamar just a little bit. There were opportunities for him when the pocket broke down a little bit or when the play wasn't there. He just stayed in the pocket. It was very Justin Fields-esque, where he would just stay in the pocket and just wait for something to happen instead of doing what he normally has done and just go, run, drive, do something. Don't stand in the pocket. That's what Justin Fields has had problems with. He has had some of the highest time to throw in the NFL, but we see his numbers, and they're like, these are not great numbers. It's because all he's doing is just standing there a lot of the time. If Lamar would just take off a couple of those times in the playoffs, maybe we're talking about a different outcome of the game. But I think if Todd Monken did a better job game planning, we very well could have already seen Lamar in the Super Bowl. Going up against a 49ers team he beat the crap out of earlier in the season.
Yeah.
So I think that it really depends because they have a very difficult schedule. They open with that rematch against the Chiefs. Will Todd Monken finally correct his mistake and think, well, we just got Derrick Henry. We lost Gus Edwards, we lost J.K. Dobbins, and we got Derrick Henry. You know what?
Not bad.
Let's try to run the football. Maybe that'll work this time. Yeah. Maybe they'll do that. Then week 2, it's easy. You're up against the Raiders at home. Then you're at Dallas, home against the Bills, at Bengals. Those are 3 pretty tough games. And then you skip 2 games against the Commanders and Bucks. Then you go over at Cleveland. Their defense was number 1 last year. Can they repeat that? Home against Denver. Then home against the Bengals. At Steelers. I've been ripped on for criticizing the Steelers. Are they going to be good? I have no idea.
Well, generally they play well in the division. The division games, generally, they're very close in that division.
Yes, the Steelers and Ravens, no matter who the quarterbacks are, they're normally close. At the Chargers, I think their defense is going to be improved with a better coach. I think Jim Harbaugh is going to do a number on that defense as well as change the offensive scheme so it's not super reliant on Justin Herbert. Try to ground and pound a little bit. Home against the Eagles, that I think will be a good game because I don't think the Eagles are going to implode like they did last year. And then you have a Week 14 bye week at Giants, home against the Steelers, and then you wrap it up pretty difficult, I think, at Texans and home against the Browns. I think some of those games are going to be pretty close. They are favored in 14 of these games. They went 13-4 last year, and that's with a relatively poor and growing offensive wide receiver core. Now, Zay Flowers, I saw a clip today. Zay Flowers catching a deep ball, and it was a sight to see, absolutely. I think Zay Flowers growing in the system will be fine. They lost Devin Duvernay, which is another piece of their depth now. I know he dealt with a couple injuries there. But all around, their offensive weapons are not great. They have Zay Flowers. They have Rashad Bateman. They have Tylan Wallace, who I also saw have a great catch in practice. They have your guy, Nelson Aguilar. They got Devontae Walker, who is Drake May's top guy at UNC. They have Isaiah Likely, who's had some moments when Mark Andrews went out. He's had a couple nice moments. And then, of course, speak of the devil, Mark Andrews, one of the best tight ends
in the league.
Absolutely. So, yes, Lamar has a couple nice pieces around. He has a nice budding star in Zay Flowers, a reliable piece in Devontae Walker at a UNC. It's just a question of win it within the scheme, because I think that's the key there. We saw the scheme screw over Lamar once. And honestly, we could argue screw him over previously because it was a very run-heavy scheme with Greg Roman. If we see a balanced scheme that makes sense against the competition.
With adjustments when things aren't working.
Absolutely. And we talk about, you mentioned the Patriots. 2018, they threw the playbook out because it wasn't working. The offense had nothing to do against the Rams in the Super Bowl. They threw it out, and they did the same play 4 times, and that set up a touchdown. So if you're able to do that, make the smart adjustments, I'm saying, yeah. Now, when it comes to MVP awards, I think there is going to be a little bit of a grace period for Lamar. Voter fatigue, I think, is definitely going to get in the way because Lamar is a unique specimen. There's no quarterback like Lamar. There's little bits of athleticism. Josh Allen has it. Mahomes shows flashes. Jalen Hurts has it.
Not like Lamar.
Justin Fields, but not like Lamar. Not with the efficiency like Lamar has. So I do think Lamar eventually will make it to a championship. It's just a question of, does he have the skill around him, and who is he playing against? Because it really matters the competition you're up. That's the biggest part.
I worry that his best chance might have been last year.
That's
had the Chiefs on the road.
Yep.
Got in the red zone twice.
That was the Chiefs' worst offensive team.
Got in the red zone twice. Was only behind by 1 touchdown. Turned the ball over twice. That hurts.
One wasn't his fault. One was kind of Hail Mary throw that I'm not going to fully pin on him. But
I don't understand that throw. I mean,
it was a bad decision.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say it wasn't. But, I do think eventually, because Lamar is too talented to say he'll never make it. Way too talented to say he'll never make it. Just like Josh Allen. Eventually he'll make it. I think, and this might be horrible to say, Mahomes is going to have an injury where he's going to miss significant amounts of time. Every quarter, every player does. I think it's unfair to say that just because a player is phenomenal, that he'll have no major injury. No injury that's going to knock him out for a significant amount of time. I feel like every quarterback has some kind of injury. Every top-tier quarterback has had some injury where they've lost a decent amount of time. It doesn't need to be knocking him out of game. Just look at Joe Burrow to open the season. First 4 games, it's like, dude, we know you're not 100%. Sit down. Heal. You're costing your team a game. Costing your team a couple games. So maybe it's that where it's a lingering injury. Jalen Hurts dealt with that too. It wasn't significant enough to knock him out of a game, but we could see that, well, he's not running it, and he's limping off to the sideline after our QB scramble. That's not exactly the Jalen Hurts we like. He's not stepping into his deep throws as he did back in 2022 when they made it to the Super Bowl. So maybe it's something like that. But like I said, Lamar is way too talented to not make a Super Bowl. Winning, like Tom Brady said, making it's one thing. Winning it is something completely different. Because that takes in-game adjustments maybe after every quarter.
Well, I think that's true in the AFC or NFC championship games, too. Those are huge games as well.
Absolutely. But let's get into our next topic here. So Josh Allen, during training camp, spoke with Kay Adams on the Up and Adams show, and this is what he had to say about his new wide receiver core after the loss of Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis. Take a listen.
Who do you like? You're saying the 1-2, who's the third option? Who are you liking so far?
Well, I mean, I don't know if we really have a 1 or 2. I think we got a group of guys that are just finding ways to get open, and they're doing their job. They understand their roles within each concept. Curtis Samuel's a guy that sticks out to me using his speed. He's kind of a gadget guy. You can place him in the backfield. I'm sure you saw some of that today. Mm-hmm. He scored a touchdown running the ball. So Matt Collins bringing the juice, drafting a guy like Keon, guys that can go up and get the ball. MVS, a guy like Terrell Shavers, who's been in the system for a year now. He was on the P squad last year. He's come to play. But a lot of guys are making plays all over the field right now, and they're working really hard.
So do you think that the Bills not having a solidified wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 could rear its ugly head during the 2024-2025 season?
I do. I think that you got Josh Allen there trying to put the best picture on it, the best spin on what could be a problem here. He says, I think we got a group of guys that are just finding ways to get open, and they're doing their job. They understand their roles within each concept. I mean, some of these guys are brand new. How could they understand their roles perfectly now in like 3 or 4 days of practice? This is just getting started, and most of these guys are brand new. They are working plays all over the field and are working really hard. The vibe is great, and I think there is less tension in the Bills camp this year than there was last year with all the issues they had with Stephon Diggs. But I just took a look at the wide receiver core that they have, right? They have a rookie in Keon Coleman, who was drafted in the 2nd round. Who knows? I mean, he's probably the upside potential on him is really good. But we don't know what he can do. He hasn't played a game in the NFL yet, not even a preseason game. Just caught it through a few practices, a few passes during practice without his pads on. So that remains to be seen. Curtis Samuel came from the Commanders. 62 catches last year, 613 yards, 9.5 yards per average per catch, 4 TDs. For his career, since 2017, 317 receptions, 3,383 yards, 10.7 yards per catch, and 22 TDs. I would say that's okay, but not outstanding, certainly not a number 1 receiver. Then you got Mac Hollins from Atlanta. Last year he had all of 18 catches, 251 yards, 14 yards a catch, no touchdowns. For his career, 131 catches, 1,700 yards, 12.9 and yards per catch, and 10 touchdowns. Then you've got Chase Claypool, wow, got him from the Bears. Huh? He had 8 catches last year, 77 yards, 10 yards a catch, 1 touchdown for his career, Nate.
Yeah, for his career.
175 yards, 175 catches, 2,200 yards, 13 yards a catch, and 13 TDs, which the yards per catch isn't too bad. And the amount of yards there in total is okay. They haven't played that many years. And I think he could be good. I don't understand why the Steelers let him go and the Bears let him go. I guess he was hurt last year because he only had 8 catches.
He was bad with the Bears.
Yeah.
Bad locker room.
Yeah. And then Kansas City, they got Valdez-Scantling. Well, we all saw him running down the field. Mahomes throwing a perfect ball about 40 yards in the air. Scanlon, right on his hands, catches the ball and drops it. Which was what happened to the Chiefs a lot last year. A lot of drop balls.
Led the league in drops.
A lot of drop balls. And Scantling, because of that, wound up not playing all that much. 21 catches, 315 yards. 15 yards a catch, which is pretty good. 1 TD. And for his career, 186 catches, 3,155 yards, 17 yards a catch, and 16 TDs. And then finally, KJ Handler from the Broncos. And he didn't play at all last year. He had 42 catches for his career, 620 yards, 15 yards a catch, and 3 TDs. I would say the Bills, it's a work in progress to say it best. And whatever spin Josh Allen's putting on it right now is a little bit of hype because I think it's a big unknown and a big risk.
Absolutely, it's a big risk. We're now going pre-Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen. And Stephon Diggs, you can look at the numbers, the production skyrocketed. I think he had a 69% completion percentage year 1 with Diggs, which was hands down probably his best and most efficient year. Well, now we're going into a Josh Allen where he lost his two top receivers, which accounted for 241 targets. It's a lot of targets. The rest of the team had nowhere near that. Absolutely nowhere near that. So the Bills, and we've talked about the Buffalo Bills a lot on this show. Or at least I have. Now, they're in a weird situation. Josh Allen, phenomenal quarterback, puts up gaudy numbers. Can't win and can't beat his number 1 rival. It's like the bad boy Pistons against the Bulls. Well, I'm not saying Josh Allen is Michael Jordan, but there's always that one opponent that he just can't get past when it matters most. The one obstacle from letting him get to the promised land. Josh Allen can't beat Mahomes in the playoffs. In the regular season, that's great. It's absolutely great. But for when it matters most, what puts you in the history books for your legacy is not what you've done in week 3. It's what you do in week 20, week 21, week 22, when it matters the most, where it's a game 7 every week. It's not, well, we'll get them next time. Oh, well, we got a game next week. Let's go prepare for that. No, we're kind of done. If we lose this game, we're out. It's game 7. Josh Allen has been in an unfortunate situation wherein sometimes he tries too hard and makes a Superman player tries to, and it just doesn't work out. Other times it's, well, I have to keep up because my defense can't stop a 13-second play from Patrick Mahomes. That on that play, that was abysmal, and we've ripped Sean McDermott and that entire system several times on that horrible play call for that 13 seconds against the Chiefs. So they're in a weird situation. They lost a lot of pieces. On both sides. Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, Leonard Floyd, Micah Hyde, Mitch Morris, Tyrell Dodson, Trey White, Jordan Poyer, Jordan Phillips, Shaq Lawson. They lost a lot of pieces. A lot of pieces. A lot of it for financial reasons. They couldn't afford a lot of these guys. So they kind of have to go with budget cuts and hiring people that are not at the top of the league in any statistical category or even in a production stance. They also have a pretty difficult schedule. They play the Dolphins twice. They play the Jaguars. They play the Ravens, the Texans, the Jets twice. They play the Chiefs, the Niners, the Rams, the Lions. That's a difficult schedule. Let's just say, based on difficulty alone, right? The easiest games they have: Cardinals, Titans, Seahawks, Colts, Patriots twice. Well, then let's go against the difficult teams. Dolphins twice, Ravens, Texans, Jets twice, Chiefs, Niners, Rams, Lions. I threw in the Jaguars there because Trevor Lawrence is now making $55 million a year. I have to now put him in the sense of, well, he's getting paid like he's a top quarterback in the league, so I'm going to give him that respect. And now I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback currently, but I think when he plays well, I think if he plays normal and not injured, he can be. And I've put him in a top 10 quarterback list before. But something in the NFL that really not a lot of other sports have is you can't do it alone. Josh Allen's Superman tactic of when everything is not going great or the system requires me to do something spectacular, I'm going to take that deep shot, I'm going to make the superhero play. That's what Caleb Williams has been ridiculed for, and he hasn't played a single snap in the NFL. That's what his scouting report said. He holds on to the ball for way too long, tries to make a big play instead of the best play. Josh Allen, we've seen a lot of cases where that is the case. He stands in the pocket instead of taking a nice short pass to Stephon Diggs. He stays in the pocket, doesn't see Deion Dawkins getting pancaked by Chris Jones, and he underthrows a pass to Shakir. He could have just dished it off to Diggs. It was that easy. But I understand why. Josh Allen feels like he needs to because it's been several times in his career where he needs to do everything. Because his offensive line wasn't great. His running back wasn't great. Maybe the offensive calling wasn't great. But Joe Brady changed that. Ken Dorsey did not develop a nice run scheme. Joe Brady comes in. James Cook's production skyrockets, which means Josh Allen's rushing and passing efficiency also took a massive jump up.
That's a good sign for them.
It's an absolutely amazing sign. Now, you did lose Mitch Morris, who was your starting center. Could it be somewhere he matters a lot? Jason Kelce, what's the impact of Saquon Barkley in the running game for the Eagles? You just lost your starting center. I don't think that will be the massive impact. I think it's the amount of weapons. Now, when it comes to MVS, it's not looking good. You bring up Chase Claypool's career numbers and last season numbers. He's fallen behind Chase Claypool. He even has a shot to actually get passed again, too. It looks like, according to reports from training camp, it looks like Tyrell Shavers, a second-year wide receiver, because of his, upside, could surpass MVS for the fifth wide receiver spot on the Buffalo Bills.
They may cut him. Maybe they'll cut.
They very well could.
They'll cut Scantling.
Because right now, Scantling is signed for $2.29 million. Now, what I also find a little bit interesting, what's the defense going to look like? Is Von Miller going to be okay? Is Von Miller going to be good? Because
he needs to rebound, man. He
Correct.
didn't have much of a year last year. All kinds of off-field issues with him.
Well, not only that, is when he came onto the field, he played 12 games. He looked like a shell of himself. They had the fourth most sacks in the NFL, but they lost Leonard Floyd to the 49ers, who led the team in sacks with 10.5. But they couldn't replace him because they didn't have the money to go out and get a star rusher like Christian Wilkins on the interior. You couldn't get anyone a top pass rusher, so you have to deal with Smoot and Tuhill. That's what you got to deal with now. I think it's very difficult to say how Von Miller will bounce back because we saw him just get paid 6 years, $120 million. He's making $20 million, and these were his numbers last year. 12 games, no sacks, 3 tackles, 13 pressures.
That's all he had. It's pretty bad.
In 12 games, didn't record a single sack, 3 tackles.
How much time did he play
pressures.
in each of those games? I don't think they played him a lot in some of those games.
I think it could be defense because you lost you lost Trey White and your starting safeties. That's a massive hit.
Yeah.
If any team loses their starting defensive pieces and you can't financially replace them with the same level of guy, the same value of player as the guys you just lost, shouldn't that, generally that means you're taking a massive hit defensively.
Yeah. Well, I think that the Bills are definitely more of a question mark this year than last year. I still pick them to win the division. I think
you have them winning the AFC.
I think I do have them winning the division. And last time we went around on this, we get another chance at the end of training camp.
We do.
Take a look.
Which is about 3-4 weeks by now. Yeah.
And I think that Josh Allen's going to have his best season this year because he won't have Stephon Diggs irritating him and creating tension, unnecessary tension. These wide receivers, while they're a little pedestrian, maybe Keon Coleman is a star. And the other guy, Shakir, is not the guy named Shakir who plays for them. He's pretty good. Shakir. He's pretty good. So Curtis Samuel probably playing with Josh Allen. I mean, he didn't play with much when he was with the Commanders, right?
Well, it's the Commanders.
Yeah. So
they were just not a good football team.
So I do think they have a chance to win the division. I think that the defense is a little weaker than it was last year. Certainly, with losing both starting safeties is a big hit. So they're going to be relying on Josh Allen a lot more, and he's going to have. I think he'll have a great year. And if he does, then I think that their chances of winning the division are good because you went through the list there. There are some teams that are easily going to beat, right?
Yeah. So
just go through it once more.
The easiest teams, obviously, Cardinals, Titans, Seahawks, Colts, Patriots twice.
Okay, so that's 7 wins. That's 6 wins right there.
Right.
So that's 6 out of 17.
Yep.
So 17 minus 6, that's 11 games.
Yep.
So if they split with the rest of those teams, that's 5 more wins, right? So they would win 11 games that way, and maybe
I have them going 9-8 because I do think they'll split with the Dolphins. They'll lose to the Ravens. They'll lose to the Texans. They'll lose to the Chiefs, Niners, Rams, Lions. I do have them losing to those teams, and then it's really up for a debate.
They play the Lions at home or away?
They're away. Lions home. I think
Lions home.
Lions are home.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be very difficult because we've already seen them lose to the Jaguars. I think it could be difficult for them to beat the Jaguars again with a healthy Trevor Lawrence. I mean, they couldn't last time on a neutral field. But what's interesting is that we see these teams, Dolphins, Chiefs, go for speed. Bills taking a different route. They're going size.
Yeah. Well,
MVS, 6'4". Tyrell Shavers.
You mentioned their running game came back under the new offensive coordinator last year, and that helped Allen a lot too. They still have Cooks.
They do.
Yeah, he was a good running back last year.
Well, like I said, they're going size. MVS, 6'4". Tyrell Shavers, 6'4". Shakir, 6 foot. Curtis Samuel, 5'11". Mac Hollins, 6'4". Keon Coleman, 6'4". Chase Claypool, 6'4". Josh Allen, 6'5". James Cook is 5'11".
Yeah.
So they're going for a big team compared to speed, like a couple of these other teams.
Yeah. I think the tall, fast receiver is a plus.
It's difficult to find a Xavier Worthy. Randy Moss was one of those types.
Yeah.
Was he 6'2", something like that?
He might have been taller than that.
He could have been taller than that. One of the fastest receivers ever in NFL history. You see him out in the open field, you're like, yeah, no, I'm probably not going to pick this off or defend this pass. But I do have the Bills doing okay. I think they're going to be third in the AFC East, though. I think they go 9-8. I think the Jets and the Dolphins. We talked about the Jets' schedule last week.
I don't trust the Dolphins. I don't trust the Dolphins. They fall apart late in the year.
If the Dolphins could be successful,
late in the year.
Correct. If the Dolphins could be very successful the first 75% of the season, the first 70% of the season, they're good.
Yeah, but you mentioned on the show last week, Tua, once he gets beyond week 12, he falls apart because it gets cold.
So exactly. Play a good 70%, you're fine.
That's happened.
If you do really well the first 70% of the season, I say first, even though that's 7/10
that might not win you the division.
It might not. We saw it last year. It didn't. The Dolphins looked like they secured the AFC East last year. Then they fell apart late in the year due to injuries, poor performance against some teams, shocking upsets like the Titans last year, and the Bills took over the AFC East again. That very well could happen. Very well could happen. So we'll see. I just think that it's not going to be as pretty as it has been. Could they focus more on James Cook? They should. Will they? Again, scheme. Todd Monken went away from the scheme.
Okay, well, you mentioned one other factor that we also mentioned in the last clip.
Yeah.
Right? The Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
They're a dynasty.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. They're going for that three-peat. It's going to be very hard to stop them.
And that game, let me bring it up, is in week 11. Bills are at home. Once again, regular season, it'll be great to see the Bills and the Chiefs in the regular season. I want to see it in January. That's when I want to see them face off. January.
Yeah,
because
there's a chance they will.
I think it's a pretty high chance. Although the Bills go up against Lamar Jackson, we could be seeing then they don't even get a chance to reach the Chiefs.
Yeah, could be.
We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, Micah Parsons is clapping back at some of the Cowboys' criticisms, as well as Bo Nix is taking a step closer to securing that quarterback one spot for the Denver Broncos. We'll talk about that right after this.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Stephen Harvey. It is great to have you in today on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show. So Micah Parsons recently spoke with John Machota, and he had this to say about some criticisms coming his way and of the Cowboys over the past few relatively disappointing seasons. This is what he had to say. You'd have to be blind to say that you don't have expectations wearing a star. That's why I say there's a delusion factor. They say it's okay not to win or act like those losses don't hurt or don't matter. That's delusional to me because it's earned. The reality is sometimes you are out-coached, sometimes you are out-schemed, sometimes people have the answers for what you dial up, and there's nothing you can do. And the game plan you thought they were going to come out in, they come out different. That's the reality of the NFL. It's physical. You need speed, you need strength, all that stuff. But so much of it is mental IQ. Completely agree with that. However, we've seen the Cowboys recently. CeeDee Lamb holding out. Dak Prescott contract situation. Micah Parsons looking to get paid as well. Could this be a step back year for the Dallas Cowboys, or do you think they're going to remain the same? Or, shockingly, do you think they're going to improve over their recent disappointing history?
I'm not sure they'll improve much over in the regular season. They won 12 games last year, and they won 12 games 3 years in a row. So the regular season they seem to have the answer, but in the playoffs they're a disaster. And this interview with Micah Parsons I find kind of funny. I mean, he knows the pressure's on because they haven't won in the playoffs. He acknowledges the high expectations that come with playing for the Cowboys. And he says, I get a lot of scrutiny. And it's because you earn scrutiny. It's the expectations from wearing the star. And you put this up here, the delusional factor. They say it's okay not to win or to act like these losses don't hurt or don't matter. That's delusional to me because it's earned. I'm not sure I totally understood what he was saying there. He says he has an unwavering commitment to winning, expresses frustration that he doesn't that he doesn't strive for that people don't think he strives for victory. He highlighted his sacrifices and his love of the game. I'm not sure what sacrifices he's made. This is winning. This is a winning program that the fans expect to win here. It hurts him if people think he's not trying to win. People don't know how much I love this game and what I put into the game so I can win. Acknowledges complexities of the games. This is where it gets me a little bit. He's trying to throw some of the blame for the playoff losses onto the coaches, right? He says, I acknowledge the complexities of the game. Some opponents outplay the Cowboys. They make better adjustments than we do. They execute better game plans, or their players perform at an exceptional level. Sometimes you are out-coached, out-schemed. They make the splash plays, deep shots, best contested catch. They contain CD or the running back. That's just the reality of the situation. Well, I got news for you, Micah. Your performance in the playoffs is pitiful, right? You've had 3 years in the playoffs. In 2021, 3 tackles and 6 assists, no sacks. 2022, 4 tackles, 3 assists, 1 sack. 2023, 1 tackle, 1 assist. Come on. That's pitiful. You're an elite football player. I don't care if the other teams are scheming, they're being outcoached. If you're an elite player, you find a way to overcome that. And when you're playing in the biggest games of the year in the playoffs, you got to find a way to do that. If you're an elite player, you find a way, and you haven't. So don't blame it on the coaches. Don't say that you love the game so much that you're disappointed that people question you. They're questioning you because of your performance. It's the statistics.
I completely agree with that. Micah has been disappointing because I picked him for my Defensive Player of the Year this past season. So the amount of respect and the amount of expectations I have and how I critique his performance is based on what he has already produced. He's been the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year 2 times in a row. He has been a tremendous rusher for the Dallas Cowboys. But it's not only Micah. It's just the Cowboys. The big moments, they come up small. The star don't twinkle in the playoffs. That's just the way it is. America's team turns into America's nightmare. That's where it is. I mean that's really like, and Cowboys fans acknowledge this. We see in training camp, there's nobody there. It looks dead. There's been pictures of the stands during training camp. Nobody's there. We've brought up recently on the show the fan survey of what the Cowboys fans think of some of these questions. Like, who's the most overrated player? Dak Prescott. Who would you most likely want to be on the Dallas Cowboys for the next 5 years? It was CD, Micah, and then Prescott. It's not a great look. Will the Cowboys make the Super Bowl in the next 5 years? I think, was it 78% of people said nope? And that's from a Cowboys fan base that has said, for a large part of my life, every time I think about the Cowboys, I've had a couple friends who were Cowboys fans. They always talk about how the Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl. Well, no. You have a quarterback who has the worst playoff record, minimum 5 games played in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield has the same amount of playoff wins than Dak Prescott does. Daniel Jones has half the amount of playoff wins than Dak Prescott, and he's barely a starting NFL quarterback. It's just the way it is. C.J. Stroud looked better in his first playoff game. Jordan Love looked better in his first playoff game than Dak Prescott did. The entirety of the Green Bay Packers, who were the 7th seed, whooped you basically through the entire game. The fourth quarter, it became a little bit more respectable because the Packers were up, I think, 42-16, something like that. They were up so much, there was really no shot you can come back. So the Cowboys are in a very precarious situation. They have a bunch of things going on, a lot of moving pieces. Dak is probably about to become the first $60 million a year quarterback. CeeDee Lamb, very well, if they could figure it out, very well could be the highest paid wide receiver. And in Micah's, and based on how things really turn out for the Dallas Cowboys, Micah Parsons may become the highest paid rusher. But what would that mean? You have nobody else. Yeah. Not a soul. So really, it would be the Phoenix Suns of the NFL. Top heavy, but nobody else. Yeah. You have Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. Nobody else. And that's what the Cowboys would be. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, nobody else.
Well, that's truer and truer in the NFL these days. You got to have some stars, and you got to have some people that can complement them. You got to have some role players. You got to have a team concept. You've got to be able to draft well, and you've got to be able to identify the cagey veteran that may be a free agent that is maybe getting a little older and but can still play, and bring them in to get the right chemistry, because these they're going to be big contracts to hang on to some of these elite players, and particularly at the quarterback position, we've seen the salaries that these guys are getting nowadays. Wow. They're taking up a good chunk of the cap.
Yeah.
And that's going to be tough, make it tough for the Cowboys and a lot of other teams too. But in Micah Parsons' case, he has been the defensive player of the year, in the top conversation the last 2 years, and he is a great player in the regular season. He just has not done it. And there would be talk of him being, another Lawrence Taylor. No way. Lawrence Taylor won 2 Super Bowls. Okay, and he played great in the playoffs.
He was also an MVP, I believe, at one point.
And so I think that you got a long way to go, Micah, if you think you're going to be another Lawrence Taylor. And you got to win some playoff games. Same for Dak, same for CD, same for all the Cowboys players and their coach. Because if he doesn't get deep into the playoffs this year, sayonara.
I do think that this is a make it or break it year. When it comes to building up the Cowboys, I put a lot of the blame on Jerry Jones and partially on Stephen Jones because father-son duo. It's your
just like us.
I mean, yeah, but unlike us, we work in a dynamic for the better of the show and for the better of our audience.
I like to think so.
We work to and for our audience.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones decided, let's sign 3 players in free agency. Let's spend $30 million less than any other team in the NFL. They were dead last in free agent spending. The next lowest was the New Orleans Saints.
That's because they're setting it up to get these 3 guys signed somehow.
It's crazy that Jerry Jones can say all in, and you sign Eric Kendricks, who I don't mind, linebacker, Ezekiel Elliott, who Cowboys fans were fed up with because production dipped. And the last time we saw him in a Cowboys uniform, he was getting steamrolled because he played center on that last play. And then Royce Freeman, a running back, because you let Tony Pollard go. Even though Tony Pollard was not a very good running back for you anyway. 1 game last season of 100 or more yards. Dak Prescott works his best with a running scheme. When you allow him to throw it 30 or more times, the record is shocking. Yes, he did have a great season last year, but in the playoffs, it's the same story. It's the same story. Yes, he'll look great. Yes, he's working on his interceptions, or rather, hoping to get fewer interceptions per year. But what do we expect there? I'm going to predict something right now on August 2nd. Week 8 at 49ers. They will lose by 30 points. Because you know what? You remember the last time they played? They lost, 41-19, I think it was? Something like that. It was bad. Very, very bad. And what's crazy, the Cowboys are going to go through a very, very tough streak. From week 6 to week 11, you go Detroit, bye week, Niners, Falcons, Eagles, Texans. I think we should put a little bit more on respect on the Falcons' name. Recently, not a great rep, but they have Kirk Cousins and really, I think Kirk Cousins under center or in the shotgun, 18,000 times better than Desmond Ridder.
I say they go 5-1 in the division.
That would not surprise me.
So there's 5 wins right there. Who else they got?
Well, if you go 5 wins, so who's the loss to? I assume sweep the Giants.
No, I think they'll split with the Eagles.
Split with the Eagles. So they sweep the Giants, they sweep the Commanders.
Yeah.
I assume you're saying at Eagles they lose?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So at Eagles they lose. So they beat the Eagles at home. So ready, week 1 at Browns.
I think they win that one.
That's Tom Brady's first game call.
I know. It'll be fun to watch that one.
Okay, home against the Saints.
Home against the Saints, they win.
Win. Home against the Baltimore Ravens.
I think they're going to lose that one.
Lose. At Steelers.
I think they could win that one.
So it's home against the Detroit Lions.
They won that one last year, right? But it was a fluke game. It was a fluke. They won it on a fluke.
It was the Eric
I think
Decker
they lose
call.
that one this time.
Damn right they do. At 49ers.
They lose that one.
At Atlanta.
I think they could win that one.
Win it. Home against the Texans.
That's a tough one.
That is.
I think they might win that one.
Wow. Home against the Bengals.
I'm sorry. They're going to lose that one.
Lose that one.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't mean to influence this. Home against the Bengals.
How many games we got left here?
Including the Bengals, 3.
I don't think they win that one.
At Panthers win.
They win that one.
Home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They win that one. So that's 12 wins. 12 wins.
11
That's
wins.
what I said.
11 wins.
No, it's 12.
You said loss against the Ravens, Lions, 49ers, Texans, Bengals, Eagles.
That's 6. So, yeah, you're right. It's 11.
11
so
6.
there's one other win in there somewhere because I think they're going to win 12 games.
Okay.
Yeah. What are the losses again? I'll tell you which one the win is.
At Eagles, home Bengals, home Texans, at 49ers, home against Lions, home Ravens. The one that you maybe thought was...
Home Texans.
Home Texans.
Yeah,
that was the one where you flip-flopped on it. Yeah. So, okay, you're saying win against that.
Yeah.
That's
12 wins.
That's Monday Night Football, I believe.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch.
So
You can't wait for football to start.
I mean, yeah. We kind of saw it recently happen, but no, the Cowboys are in for a nice rude awakening, I think. All right, let's go on to the next topic here. So Bo Nix reportedly has taken a massive jump. A lot has been said about Bo Nix. Sean Payton is always raving about him. Said he had the same excitement that he had when scouting Patrick Mahomes, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, no, Bo Nix was drafted 12th overall by the Denver Broncos this season. And the Denver Broncos also acquired a former second overall pick, Zach Wilson, in a trade with the New York Jets before the draft. Now, Zach Wilson has taken a couple steps back. It's basically one step forward, 2 steps back for Zach Wilson just in his entire career. So it looks like because of the fact Zach Wilson has dropped out of the race, essentially, obviously not officially, but essentially, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to go back in a race. It'll just be Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham. And we heard a lot about, a lot of raving coming from Sean Payton about his 12th overall pick in this past year's draft. So I would like to know, are you surprised with Bo Nix' sudden growth? And ultimately, who do you think Sean Payton will side with as his starting quarterback in week 1?
Bo Nix. I'm pretty sure. I think Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson set a pretty low bar in terms of making it to the starting cornerback. But Payton says, despite Nix's promising start, the quarterback job is still up for grabs. I think he may say that, but I'm not sure he's thinking it. Wilson's role has been reduced now. He had no first-team reps recently. Payton said, we'll see, and when he was asked if Wilson will get additional reps, I think it seems like they're writing him off pretty fast. Stidham play, he lacks, he's not a dynamic player. He's not going to be the franchise. He's not what you think of as a franchise quarterback, but he's a veteran, and he offers a reliable option. He has experience, steady play. For what he's played, it's a pretty small sample size with him as a starting quarterback, but he has had some good games. Which could make him a viable option if they decide to delay Nick's ascent to the starting role. But Nix is impressed with the accuracy and ability to extend plays with his legs. He's resilient. He rebounds from his mistakes. He's delivering consistent performance. He's great arm strength and ball placement, are both noteworthy. And he's been getting, praise from the players. He's gotten some good compliments from the players. Could he sit out a year to master the complexity of the fast-moving NFL game, watch from the sidelines, study the playbook, get a stronger rapport with his teammates, minimize injury risk? I think that would be a huge mistake. The bridge quarterbacks, which Stidham would be one, generally have terrible stats. The 12 most recent bridge quarterbacks, none has achieved a top 12 grade. None of them in the top 10 in passing grade. None of them have overall ratings or passing grades higher than 16th. I'd say start him. It gives you a quicker player evaluation and development. You can see his development, and it gives him a chance to develop. In the long run, the benefits to me outweigh the risk. I'd start him.
Absolutely. Yes, obviously, he's a rookie. But it's not like he's an Anthony Richardson. It's not like he's a Drake May or a Trey Lance. He has 60 starts in college. He's a well-seasoned veteran when it comes to playing, sometimes, big-time football games. And last year, we saw he played in a number of big-time games. So I think Sean Payton is attracted to that because he doesn't have the regression level Russell Wilson did. He doesn't really have just taking the safe bet as Russell Wilson had. We've seen Bo Nix take it deep. We've seen Bo Nix handle pressure. And I'm going to actually get into that in a little bit. But first, I'm going to say this. Bo Nix, what he did with Oregon is very impressive. His completion percentage, I believe it was the best in college football last year. He took the nice play. He didn't do a Caleb Williams. He didn't do a Josh Allen where he stays in the pocket and tries to make the flashy play. And that obviously contributed to his high completion percentage. He took the shorter throw. Yes, obviously his average depth of the target was the lowest. That's because he just made the smart play. He didn't need to take the deep throw. I think Sean Payton would be attracted to that because think about who his quarterback was. Drew Brees, arguably one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. And last time I checked, yeah, he won a Super Bowl with them. It's not that bad. Even with a gunslinger like Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston looked like a viable quarterback with Sean Payton as his head coach. So, obviously, Bo Nix is a rookie. There's things he needs to work on. Bad footwork. He needs to work on his, a little bit better anticipation. Definitely his footwork, though. He tends to fade away from throws. We saw that in training camp. But overall, I do think that Bo Nix will be the starting quarterback. Now, I talked about this with Jordan Love when he signed that big deal recently. And if you crunch the numbers a little bit, we look at, how do these young quarterbacks handle pressure? In the big-time moments, how did they deliver when there was a 325-pound guy, or several of them, crowding your lane? Bo Nix was well above anyone else in this draft class. He was number 1 in passing grade while under pressure. 21.1 points higher than the next highest quarterback in the first round. Actually, just in the draft. And that was Michael Penix. The number 1 overall pick was 61.0. 4 spots lower than Bo Nix. Drake May was number 3. Joe Milton was number 5. Technically tied with Caleb Williams, so tied for 4th. Bo Nix can handle pressure. He doesn't need to slide out of the pocket to make the big-time throw. He's big enough. I think he's mobile enough. He's athletic enough. Has a good enough arm to fill in Sean Payton's system, to fill in Sean Payton's philosophy, to fit into this scheme. So, 100%. Rookie, will make mistakes.
Yeah, but he's not so, as you say, he's a rookie hybrid because he played so many games in college.
Yeah. I mean,
so he has a lot of experience, and he played some big games, too, and he played for Oregon. That's a big program.
Absolutely. Look what playing, Brock Purdy was a 4-year starter. Look at what that did to him. He's coming out and he went undefeated until he got hurt.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Bo Nix is going to be Brock Purdy, lead to an NFC an AFC championship game, and then ultimately a Super Bowl in his next season. But this is Sean. Now, Sean Payton had a little bit of leeway. Russell Wilson, this is always how it goes. First the head coach, then the quarterback. Nathaniel Hackett already went. So Russell Wilson was already in line to get kicked out of there. Now it's Sean Payton's turn. You drafted this quarterback. It's now your ability. It's your job to develop him. Can you? That's the big question.
Well, he's had good luck developing quarterbacks. Of course, he did get Drew Brees after Drew had experience with
San Diego Chargers.
The Chargers.
Yep.
So he's never had a rookie quarterback, I don't think. He had Jameis Winston,
but he wasn't a rookie.
He wasn't a rookie. But he did a good job with the quarterbacks that he's coached.
Jameis Winston looked like a good
Russell
quarterback.
Wilson, where he didn't like Russell Wilson right from day one.
Right.
He was saying bad things about him like 2 hours after he got the job. I was a little surprised by that, but and Russell Wilson didn't play that badly, although he took the check down a lot. It was a little bit of a. If you look deep into the stats, he really didn't have that great a season. But it was a better season than the year before, which was a disaster.
Yeah.
So, now he's got a rookie quarterback. We'll see what happens. I think he should get a chance to start. And if he doesn't start, game 1 or game 2 or game 3, and Stidham does those, and if Stidham doesn't win them all, and then Bo Nix comes off the bench and takes over. But I do think he'll get a lot of playing time this year.
I completely agree. The one thing is Courtland Sutton, he's in a little bit of a contract dispute. If he gets onto the field, which I assume he will, this is the offense. And by the way, they're 5.5 over-under. I think that's a little bit disrespectful to the Denver Broncos. I think they're better than 5.5 wins.
We should look at their schedule.
I will in a second. But This offense, Bo Nix, Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims, Tim Patrick, and his old buddy from Oregon, Troy Franklin. So there's already an instant connection, and we saw what a connection could look like. Think about this. C.J. Stroud told the Texans, I want you to go out and get Tank Dell. Look at what that connection did. Look what C.J. Stroud thought of in his head, thinking, well, I like the way that guy looks. And look what happened. Explosive plays. They went from 3-13-1 to 10-7. That's that type of mentality. Now, can Bo Nix produce that same level? I think C.J. Stroud. It's crazy when these great quarterbacks come in because they set the expectation of the next class. We saw Baker Mayfield come in, look great. We saw Andrew Luck come in, look great. We saw the 2021 draft class come in, and really Mac Jones was the only one that looked good, not even great. But we look at that draft class now. Kenny Pickett didn't look that great. We look at the 2021 draft class now. It's like, miss. Hit? We're not sure about Trevor Lawrence still. He's getting paid like a top-tier quarterback. Production, not so much. But sure, let's go on the schedule right now.
Jaguars are certainly sure of him.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, they kind of have
the biggest contract in NFL history.
Yeah. So let's get into the schedule real quick.
Okay.
So we'll go week 1 down. At Seahawks.
At Seahawks.
At Seahawks, week 1.
I think they're going to lose that one. I'm sorry.
Home against the Steelers.
I think they win that one.
Wow. At Bucks.
I think they can win that one.
At Jets.
Lose.
Home against the Raiders.
I think they can win that one.
Home against the Chargers.
Lose.
At Saints.
At Saints.
How much do you trust Derek Carr? If you don't try, normally with these goals, you go quarterback for quarterback.
Well, Sean Payton. I think they'll win that game.
Sean Payton revenge game right there. You'll win. Okay, win that game. Home against the Panthers.
Yep. They win that game.
I'm going to put 3 straight losses. At Ravens, at Chiefs, home against the Falcons.
They're losing all
lose,
3.
Lose. At Raiders again. At Raiders.
I think they split with it. Well, no, I think they'll win that one.
Home against the Browns.
I think they lose that one.
Then bye week, home against the Colts. It ramps up from here. It gets worse, by the way.
I think they could win that one.
At Chargers.
Nope.
At Bengals.
Nope.
Home against the Chiefs.
Nope. So they win 7 games.
7? Wow. So you bet the over here.
Yeah. It could be 5 or 6 though. I think it 5 or 6.
But against, I mean, the Raiders I would give you just because right now Minshew and O'Connell look terrible. Like they're in a quarterback competition, and neither one of them look that great.
I think Bo Nix is going to be good.
I think as well. Me and you.
I think I'm a little surprised. You know what? If he turns out to be really good, they'll say, wow, he went too late in the draft. He should have been drafted sooner.
Yeah. I definitely think that could be a possibility. But everyone's saying, well, a lot of people say the Broncos may be the worst team in the NFL this season, which I find crazy.
I think the coach is too good to
They
let
have
that
a good
happen.
coach, a quarterback that has a lot of experience throwing a football in some big-time games. I don't think he'll have the same thing with Mac Jones. Think about the quarterbacks that he was around that turned into good NFL people, as well as playing in a scheme, Nick Saban scheme at Alabama. He played a lot of games, played very well in a lot of those games. We saw Brock Purdy. We saw now Bo Nix. I think it could be a situation where Bo Nix does perform very well. Their schedule, though, not great for a rookie quarterback. We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, Jordan Love talks about his budding young offense that won a playoff game last year. We'll talk about that right after this 30-second break.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. Great to have you in today. And of course, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our final topic of today's show. The show is flying by, even though we've gone pretty long so far. So heading into the 2024 NFL season, Jordan Love, after a pretty impressive first year starting, he spoke recently about how his offense is looking. A young, kind of brand new when it comes to just level of experience in the NFL, how the young offense is going to do up in this upcoming season. Take a listen.
I think we got a lot more confidence as a group. Just having been through it, having a year under a lot of our belts, being out there on the field, we have a lot more chemistry together. But obviously, I think we're still working through a lot of things as offense, building that chemistry, just understanding where we need to be on plays, the timing of plays, things like that, what we like for certain coverages. So I think it's definitely still a work in progress. But compared to last year, I think there's a lot less question marks. Guys understand where we need to be a lot better, and we have a better feel for the offense. But something we got to keep building on every day.
So how do you think Jordan Love will fare with a brand new contract and his second year as an NFL starter?
I agree with everything he said. I agree with him. There's a lot less question marks. I think I agree that the guys understand where they need to be a lot better, and they have a better feel for the offense. He's going to try to he's trying to shake off the rust right now from last season, so they really haven't gotten it all together yet. There's much better chemistry, which is essential to their success. The young receivers have another year of experience under their belt, and Love notices how much more he's on the same page with the receivers compared to last year. There's more confidence as a group. Just from being through it, being out there on the field, more chemistry together. But there's still a lot to work through, he says, on offense, understanding where they need to be on plays, timing of plays, what we like for certain coverages. But it's a work in progress. There's a lot less question marks. But I would say the big difference for him is he's making $55 million this year, when last year he was making almost nothing. So
yeah, 100%. He's making a lot of money. He's right now tied for the highest paid annual salary in the NFL. But I think what's interesting about this Packers team is the level of success they have with a team so young. We don't see that with a young team to have that level of phenomenal play when it matters most. In a playoff game, you go up against a Dallas defense that was top tier in the league, especially in points allowed. They're one of the best in the NFL, and you drop 40+ right on them with really no regard for what it makes them look like. You're just out there scoring touchdowns. I mean, Jordan Love went, 16 of 21 for 272 yards and 3 touchdowns? I mean, that's just efficiency right there. No, but this Green Bay Packers team is going to be special. And I hear a lot of people, making, well, we got to be careful because we've only seen 10 games. 10 games. That's true. But what if those 10 games are who Jordan Love and this Packers team will be? Well, they went 7-3. Jordan Love had only 3 interceptions, 23 touchdowns, had over 100 passer rating. I think it's 64.5% completion percentage, and it looked very good. Incredible. What if that's the Jordan Love that we see now? Well, that is a team that could not only compete for the NFC North, not only compete for the division, not only compete for an NFC Championship game. Why can't this team make it to a Super Bowl? Why can't they compete for the Lombardi Trophy? I mean, this team is filled with a bunch of talent on offense and defense. Christian Watson, Jalen Reed, Luke Musgrave, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton, Josh Jacobs, who's brand new, A.J. Dillon, the backup running back. Offensive line obviously needs a little bit of work, but according to what Jordan Love says, his brand new left tackle is doing really well. He's picking up the load since Bakhtiari left. Jair Alexander defensively, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, Quez Walker, Preston Smith, Xavier McKinney from the Giants, who was one of the highest graded safeties in the league last year. Now, they do have a rookie who right now is starting, Bullard from Georgia. What will that look like? But who knows what it'll look like? He's a brand new rookie. He hasn't taken a snap in the NFL yet. But they had a relatively quiet offseason. They had 9 losses and 3 additions, but the additions were very, very good. Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs, Greg Joseph. Now, the kicker, I don't really care about that. I don't think that's a massive hit or miss. Obviously, maybe in some games where you need a field goal, it could be a massive miss or hit. But I think Xavier McKinney, safety, massive upgrade. Josh Jacobs, running back, weird play because they decided to take a cap hit in getting rid of Aaron Jones. That was the only weird play, but you could argue that Josh Jacobs, with a competent offensive line and with a competent quarterback, he put up 1,600 yards and had double-digit touchdowns. So I think, right, if we talk about the production on that level, yes, Aaron Jones is a consistent 1,000-yard rusher. Josh Jacobs' peak, though, 1,600 yards. Can that help a Jordan Love? Maybe he's in a slump. Maybe he is that first 9 games to start the year off with. Hand the ball to Josh Jacobs behind a decent offensive line, who I had the ranking up here somewhere, is actually one of the top in the NFL. Right here. The Green Bay Packers offensive line going into this season is ranked 6th in the NFL. And that's with non-David Bakhtiari. That is with a rookie in Morgan, Jordan Morgan, who's, according to this, starting at right guard so far. So if Jordan Love can perform at the same level of the last 10 games, try to make the argument against me why this team can't make a Super Bowl. Why can't they compete for a Super Bowl?
I'm very high on the Packers this year. I think they look very good on paper, and they proved it in the second half of last year. They were a team, the youngest team in the NFL, that went out and beat the tar out of the Cowboys. And if Love hadn't thrown the interception at the end of the San Francisco game, they had a chance to go down and win that game as well.
I agree.
So they're looking very good. I expect quite a bit from them this year. Let's go through the schedule.
Sure. So week 1 at Eagles. That is a difficult schedule.
That's a tough game. I think they lose that one.
Lose that game. Now it gets easy for the next few weeks. Home against the Colts.
Yep.
At Titans.
Yep.
Home against the Vikings, who you had a high affinity for until J.J. McCarthy decided to slide. At Rams.
Yep.
Home against the Cardinals.
Yep.
Home against the Texans.
Nope.
At Jaguars.
At Jaguars.
At Jaguars.
I think they'll win that game.
Win it. Home against the Lions.
I think they win that one.
Lions, Packers are always very good games.
Those are good games.
At Bears.
They win that one.
Home against the 49ers. Rematch.
Lose.
We'll lose. Ooh, okay, so lose rematch. I guess a little bit difficult. Home against the Dolphins.
Home against the Dolphins.
This is week 13.
I think they win that one.
This is week 13.
It should be cold.
It's Thanksgiving as well.
Yeah, okay.
But it's home against... Oh, no, home against... Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it'd be cold.
At Lions.
I think they lose that one.
At Seahawks.
They win that one.
At Saints.
They win that one.
At Vikings.
They win that one.
And then home against the Bears.
If they win that one, they'd be 13-4.
And here's the crazy thing. They're favored in 12 games.
Yeah.
So there you go. So they would improve from 9-8 to 13-4.
I'd be surprised. I would be surprised if they go 13-4, actually. But I think they could. I think they easily win 11. I think they easily win 11 games.
I was going to say the margin of error is
easily
2.
win 11 games, and you say they're favored in 12, so it's somewhere between 11 and 13 wins.
No, I would definitely say, yeah. Normally, when you just go team for team, just like we've been doing, like our everybody right now does schedule predictions, there's always parity, which means, yes, one team will upset the other at some point. Yes, there'll be injuries. Yes, a quarterback may be in a slump. So, yeah, when you come out with a prediction of, well, they're looking like a 15-2 team, not probably. That's probably not going to happen. But it could be, well, think about it. The 49ers are the best team. Hands down, they're the deepest team. Brandon Ayuk reportedly is going to sign relatively soon. I don't think they're going to win 15 games. They're favored in every single one of them. Are they going to go 17-0? No. So let's say they lose 4 games. Let's say Brock Purdy has another one of those weird 3-game slumps in there where he trails late and he's not very good while trailing. So they lose 3-4 games. 13-4. Are they a bad team? No.
They're going to win the division.
Absolutely.
They're gonna try to get back to the Super Bowl, man. I'm sure they're still hurting from that. They're still hurting from that because they had the lead. They had the lead in the fourth quarter. They came back and got the lead in the fourth quarter and got the lead in the overtime and lost the game.
Yeah.
Tough, very tough loss for them.
It is,
particularly for Shanahan, who is now being a little bit questioned about his playoff ability in Super Bowls, right?
He has 3 of the 7 double-digit chokes in Super Bowl history.
Yeah.
Think about that.
So it's important for him. It's important for him to win this. They have a lot of pressure on them to win it this year.
Of course they do.
I think they'll figure it's like the It's like the Celtics this year. They would have been, if they didn't win the championship, the season would have been considered a failure.
Yes, because of the amount of talent they have around.
Same with San Francisco this year.
Absolutely.
And they kind of have to win it this year because that talent, they're not going to be able to hang on to all of it. There's going to be contracts coming up, and they have to pay Brock Purdy. So that's
the big one. You got to pay the big man Brock Purdy, who could be, according to reports, depending on what Dak does,
$65 million.
And apparently, I saw this. I don't agree with it. If Dak Prescott's patient, he can make 70, which then makes Brock Purdy make 75.
I don't believe that.
I saw it, and we were doing it during. I forgot.
There's no way. I don't think Dak Prescott. He's not going to get that kind of money.
I completely agree. 60, everyone says, is stretching it already.
He would take 55 and be happy with that. You wait. That would happen.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Contract has to be done sooner or later, so we'll have to wait and see. But that does wrap up our show today. We thank you for the constant support as always. Thank you. We'll be back. We got preseason's coming up very, very soon. We'll talk about a couple preseason games as well as other NFL news as training camp and obviously the regular season picks up and gets closer and closer to week 1, which I believe the first game Thursday night, is Thursday night, is Chiefs-Ravens. I believe that's the first one. That's going to be a great AFC Championship rematch. I'm excited for the NFL season, as I assume you are. So make sure you stay tuned. But we'll be back Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Good night, Grandpa.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley